Hey my sugar bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, JackeeNicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo? Welcome black y'all. You are tuned in to the Bougie AF channel. It's your girl JackeeNicole. You know where I say stay bougie on them. So listen, I was on the people's Facebook this morning and I came across like a post, and this post was posted by Aries Spears. And now the reason I am bringing this post up because I believe, and this is my own theory, and you know, I'm just putting it out there. But if this is your first time here, before we get there, if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate the subscribers going up. We got to get the views up, but it's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. But listen, so I'm on the people's Facebook and I come across Aries Spears, and this is post, right? And y'all know, listen, I can read into some things and pull some things out of it, okay? I'm that girl. So, to bring, the content, right? So I'm on this post and I come by it and I'm like, ooh, spicy, right? I'm a true believer. This is my ideology. You don't have to agree with me or not, but I'm a true believer that men are the messiest of them all, right? I just truly believe that. And I'm just going to point some things out. And not necessarily that I think that they're messy, but I think that women get a bad title for always talking too much or talking about things and talking about other people. Now, for me, who's someone who does a blog and does a vlog, I give my opinions about things. It just is what it is. I do my music reviews. I feel that even sometimes I feel like people are trying to insinuate that it's hating if you give your opinion about something. You can't critique anything nowadays without people trying to label you as some type of bitter, angry person, and especially as women, right? I only see it with women. Certain men, they'll say they are bitter or angry because maybe they're okay. If you listen to Kwame, he's always talking about Stephen A. Smith being angry because he's a failed basketball player, right? And so sometimes men will call other men out when they see it that way. But any other time, if women are opinionated, giving their opinions about things, and they are just speaking up for themselves, they're always labeled as something being wrong with them. If they have strong opinions about anything across the board, they're always being labeled oh, something's wrong with her, and all this other shit that is talked about. But it's never said the same thing about men when they give their strong opinions about things, or they have an opinion about what it's considered to be messy stuff or considered to be someone else's performance, right? They're critiquing at that point. It's reviewing at that point, right? But for some reason, when women do it, it's not the same thing, right? So I do music reviews, and I like to spotlight music and different artists that I come across. Now, if I don't like somebody and I find them to be atrocious, you mean to tell me that because I don't like them that I'm hating? So we all have to like the same things, and we all have to decide that we can only speak about the things that we do like, right? So because you're bitter, angry, and someone didn't play with you as a child is the reason. Is that what we're saying is the problem? Why we can't, someone has an opinion as an adult? Yeah. And that's why I said in my last video, some stuff that people are starting to say is starting to turn a lot of people off from the what is needed, which is psychology and people getting the mental health that they need. Because if people are just going to turn around and just continue to just label every fucking thing some type of mental health disorder, or trying to find something wrong that deep with somebody because they have a fucking opinion, it makes people want to laugh at mental health and the scholarship behind it. It does. It does. And I want to believe in mental health because people do really need the help that they need. This is not me trying to come out against the field, but it's a problem that everybody is trying to find a box to put somebody in because they don't like them, or they don't like what they say, or they don't agree with what they're doing, or it's not conventional to who they are. So now we need to find a box to put this person in. This is too different. I ain't never seen nothing like this, even though they ain't even never fucking left their hood. Fuck you talking about. You ain't never seen nothing like what? What is you talking about? No, real talk. Because you have to keep it that real when people start telling you about other people and how people are this and how people are that. I need to know that you have enough experience with life and different types of people before you tell me anything about that person. I've seen so many people try to tell people that they are have autism or they're on the spectrum and all this other stuff. And the people who think that about these other people ain't never been around nobody, nothing. Ain't been around a larger variety of people. Now looking back, like I think I said the other day about Julia Childs. I don't know where this is going, but it's going. I had said about Julia Childs, and I said, oh my God, I remember seeing the movie that came out. And I loved the movie, but I also grew up WGBH, like watching, the guy who used to do the painting. Everybody used to, Bob Ross, I think his name was. I used to watch that. I used to watch a lot of the Antique Roadshow. I used to watch a lot of Julia Childs. Those was still on, right? So that's why I love France and the French cooking and all the other stuff. And on top of the other black revolutionary authors and performers that end up migrating to France because of the running away from their country. Basically, that's what the symbolism from France is. It's like it's an acknowledgement that so many people sought refuge over there. Like, I don't know, that's me, and it's not to be understood for anybody else. It's for me, right? So I it's not. Like, some of the things that you find endearing and that you love for whatever the reason it is that you love, it's not for other people. That be for your fucking self. That just be for yourself. Right? So, people all right, back to talking about Julia Childs. So, growing up watching somebody like a Julia Childs and someone like Bob Ross or any of the other eccentric, I don't even like say eccentrics, like Mr. Rogers and all those other groundbreaking things that end up being fundamentally great for children. And we didn't know it at the time, right? So even I recall back to those times, right? Growing up and seeing those different types of people, originally being born in the inner city, my network of people originally from all the way up into second grade, to what I moved to the suburbs, was always just about black people. And my other outside experiences is what you see through TV majority of the time, right? It's usually what you see through TV, and it's usually what you see in terms of like who's your teachers. That represents the outside representations and the access that you have to different types of people, right? Because that just is what it is. With that being said, I bring that up. If I'm a kid, like how I've always been all my life, always into like history, watching like Greek and Roman time periods, pieces and stuff like that. I'm really big. Like if you turn on my TV, we're gonna go and I'm gonna watch something, and I go to Netflix, I'm probably gonna look for something in like the spy category, something intellectual, something stimulating, something like that. Like I'm gonna look for something in that realm. With that being said, exposed to different types of people, things like that, right? I'm telling you all of that to say, so when I looked at Julia Childs and seeing who she was as a person and got her earlier on in life, it made me a better person to run into different types of people who would have been perceived like a Julia Child, like different, right? I think nowadays, and I look back and it being 2021, I look back at Julia, people would have been saying that she's slow, something's wrong with her, she's off, she's a bit awkward. And I believe from what I remember the movie, she was already told that back then, right? But I think now they would be trying to place a label on that. I bring that to your attention because we listen to so many people try to give us opinions about people and try to place them in boxes and try to place labels on them, and they've never really kind of interacted with different people. They don't know what that looks like, right? So they're always trying to label it. They're always trying to say it's different, and people's always trying to shove medication or put a diagnosis on it, right? And it's just really utter bullshit. So to be on Clubhouse and to be in and to be in rooms and they're talking about neuroscience, and people are talking about whether or not they're on the spectrum, how they deal with their anxiety. For me, I couldn't. I know, and I know it's an audio app and it's not like being around somebody, but I always felt like I remember I was on Clubhouse and I don't remember the girl's name, but she used to always come in the room, and I do remember her name now that I say it, but I don't need to say it. But she would always come in the room, say her name, and then she would just tell everybody everything that was associated with her. I want to make sure I use the right terms. I want to say associated with what she perceived as her disability, in terms of, because that's literally how people view it, right? You come in a room and you're telling people that you have autism, or you're on a spectrum, or any of those things, and that you go by this and such pronoun, and just be patient with you. Like, you come in a room and you kind of pronounce like what makes you different, right? It's sort of like what makes you different. You come in and you pronounce what makes you different, right? Essentially because you've been told that that's not, you're not normal, or you're different, or you've been made to feel that way. I just always felt like there's no reason to announce that, right? You are who you are. But at the same time, the more you speak to these people and all this other stuff, it's like you're no different than anybody fucking else, right? What, you talk a little different, right? You may talk slower and more drawn out a little bit, but what's really different than you than somebody else, right? I've been around a lot of hood people that if you really sat back and took and really kind of analyze it a little bit, you can see all types of maybe some delayed growth or something like that. You could see all types of shit, right? So I always felt like nobody needs to announce what the fuck that they're dealing with on a personal level, right? And I necessarily don't think that puts you in a place where, like, you're so different that people should handle you different, or people should treat you different because someone's told you that you're somehow, some way special. And I don't mean special like, oh, that's so special. I mean special like meaning like something's wrong with you, right? I necessarily think that sometimes people haven't had exposure to different types of people, so they easily want to try to put they easily just want to call people just special. They just want to treat people different that they've never seen before. And they don't have the range of saying, I've been around different types of people. They're different, but who am I? Like, who's to say I'm normal? Right? I think people need to have that much groundedness and humility to be able to say, who am I? I don't know what normal is. I can't say that I'm normal. But no, nobody don't have that type of humility. They just have that type of humble they like to talk about. All right, so I'm on the daggone Facebook today, and I think I'm going to cut that out. Welcome, Black y'all. You are tuned in and you are watching the Bougie AF channel, and it's your girl XaKeeNicole. Y'all, thank y'all so much for all the I've been getting some compliments. I've been visiting some channels and going on and calling in. And so thanks for the love for that. But if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. So I was over there on the star report. So a little bit about me. So sometimes I'm gonna try to like give you a little bit about like who I am and talk about a little bit of things that be going on in my life. Won't get too deep. I'll never be like one of those bloggers that probably will take you everywhere with me and stuff like that. So don't think you'll ever get that. Don't even think you'll probably even get like my life story told in like a chronological order, or in a way that kind of makes like sense, like you'll be able to piece it together, or this is that person. Because I think sometimes, like when I watch some of these like YouTube channels, or even when I watch some of these celebrities, I really think that y'all be your own downfall sometimes, like who you'll all be on your cameras, your family and stuff like that. Like if you as a vlogger, I guess, no, they're gonna hate that I'm probably saying this, but okay, who can I give it as an example? And I'm just using them as an example because they're like always on like live and stuff like that. They used to always be on live and stuff like that. Let's take someone like Wazam Super. So I love me some Super. So like, this is not to say anything. Super has a tendency to like to be on live and like, all of her family members' names that are around her on a consistent basis. You got her friends' names. You end up knowing who their social media, what their social media is and stuff like that. Like if you're like somebody who has a little bit of a brain, and then like she's hanging with somebody, and I'm just using her as an example because this is not like any situation, this is just me using her as an example because she's very visible. So if you see somebody hanging out with somebody every day, and then all of a sudden they stop hanging out with somebody, right? 9 times out of 10, something happened. So if you're a vlogger, so what ends up happening is I feel like they know to then sit on that other person for a little bit, go check out their socials, keep up with them. And once they start seeing shady posts and start seeing some back and forth, they know they fell out and there's an issue there, right? I say all that to say that sometimes we give people the ammunition to use against us. And I'm not saying it as though I'm not someone who's probably given people ammunition and stuff like that. But I most definitely do try to take precautions of making sure like I don't go live in my home walking around and all that stuff. Like I don't do that, right? Um yeah, I just don't believe everybody should come home with you. And I think some type of way when it comes to this online ish, it's like you gotta find that healthy balance. And you also have to know like the audience that you may be bringing in and what that looks like and how like that it matters. It just does. It matters like the audience you're bringing in. If you're bringing a certain type of audience that's on that crab in a barrel petty shit trying to look at and see what you have type of audience and trying to keep up with the Joneses type of audience, then you should get limited as much exposure as possible and move that way. So and you also don't go in rooms where people are trying to expose you. I don't go in those rooms. What else ought I do? I know if I have never said it on camera, if I've never said it like or like online to the public, I don't acknowledge if it pops up online. That I won't do because that's me acknowledging something, right? So yeah, only thing I'll acknowledge is like the stuff I know for sure that I've talked about online. If you come with me some shit that I've never heard about online or I've never put out or I've never acknowledged, I'm just gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because it's like you're gonna be like, well, this person said, who's that? You get what I'm saying? Like it's gonna make you have to kind of like, I don't know. It is what it is, but yeah. What else has been going on this week? It's so much. Like it's so much to get to. Like I don't live in a bubble, and I know I tell you guys I'm not chasing the trending topics, but there's just no way you can move on. So y'all know I be on them people's clubhouse. Check out my Instagram, Bougie AF _ISH. And so, so what I mean, it's just like Clubhouse is like I think I still in Clubhouse in like 5 years and like audio type of like going back to like this type of audio type of app and interaction with all the zooming and stuff like that. Clubhouse is exposing so much. It's like there's just things I knew, but I just didn't think I knew like what I know now. And it's so funny because we've had so much access to each other in terms of like the internet, in terms of like even like Twitter, Beagle Live is out there. Like there's all of these apps, but for some reason this audio and this ability to have conversation back and forth just to see like we're so tribalistic in this country that it's just crazy. And just to see how it's shaping up and to think about politics and stuff like that in a lot of like just moving forward in the future. And the real reason why we can't get on one Discord when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to like even like the victory, you know what I'm saying? I know what we call the victory, the thing in your arm, like even like trying to get or mask, right? So like it's like that you could like whoa, because we're so like I mean just to sit back and sit in certain rooms, and I be in all types of spaces. So like if you're on Clubhouse, call yourself following me, trying to keep up with my politics and trying to figure out me and stuff like that and see where I line, what type of coon she is and all that other dumb weird shit black people tend to do. I'm everywhere, right? So, and the reason why I am everywhere because you're gonna have to guess. I think I want my parents or my the rooms that I appear in to seem extremely bipolar, extremely schizophrenic in the sense of all over the place. I wanted to seem crazy and stuff like that, but because it's not for you to get, it's for me to get, right? And so a lot of times it's the research for me, it's the people watching. So it's not for you to understand, but it's not also for you to try to infer that it may mean my politics or maybe mean what I believe in, right? Because I'm going to tell you what I believe in, but not necessarily because I'm taking audience and sitting in and absorbing what's out there. On what other app do you get to really hear people and interact and see just, I don't know. I like the app. That's all I can say. I like listening more than I do like talking. I don't mind. Like I'll go up there and talk. It's not a thing. I went in this room. Okay, there we get here. So I went into this room this week and like I tried to avoid the room. Yes, I am ADOS by lineage, but what I don't do foolishness. Like I don't do craziness. So and I'm pretty consistent with it because like even when it was like groups in my own city and there's tons of people who don't fucking like me, right? And so there was like this big massive group in my own city and shit like that, and they really came for me. I got really like they put my business, I think they think that was my business out there, right? all of these people I didn't even fucking know. Like, but I know who do got a problem with me too, right? So when you know who you got a problem with, and when other people start popping up with problems with you, you know who. Why you send them people, boy, girl? Why you send them people? I'm still on your necks, right? So it's like all of these new haters that you don't know. You may have been in the room with them, but they don't have any like real like one-on-one experience with you or with you. They just have a lot of I heard she did this to my peoples, I don't care. You got a lot of, saviors. That's what we got. We got a lot of people, because when you do talk to the people who do know me and they're like cool, that don't really got nothing bad to say outside of, but I did hear, they don't have that same experience. Now, what I don't do in life is apologize for the experience that you curate with me, right? And that's on you. So I'm never going to feel like I'm going to let something slide. You say some slick shit, I'm going to catch it. And that's not me being defensive, right? That's me correcting a nigga playing in my face, right? And there's a difference, right? Defensive is like, I'm not even going to explain. You know what the fuck defensive is. But anyway, get back to the room. So there's this room. I think it was Thursday or when was the last time? Tuesday. So there was this room, and the room was this woman. She's a congresswoman that ran for office in Georgia. She's really online, really kind of breaking down the bills and legislation that's going through Congress, like kind of letting us know that this is something that we need to pay attention to. So she does a good service job. But as you know, I'm on Clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? These positions and all these titles and all these alphabets behind people's names and stuff don't be mean and shit. They be ghetto, they be catty, you know what I mean, shady, and all of that. And I'm talking about people who say they got them people's PhD. I don't know, because I ain't checking. I ain't really kind of pulling up people's shit and kind of going that deep, because it's not that deep for me. To me, this is like being on the train and being on the opposite end of the train and shit going down, and you just sitting down looking. So that's what it is for me. So for me, I'm not into like pulling up all the people and trying to figure out who people are and if their credentials. No, I'm not doing all that. But what I will say is that these people say this is what they do, and these people say they have all this education. These people say they all this professional, but all that shit goes out the door on this app, and that's cool, because I get on there for the shits too. It's entertainment. It's not a professional app. If you are trying to sit back and judge somebody for what you see on a fucking app with people they're interacting with as strangers, which is not meant to be professional, right? I've sat in and listened to the owner of the app, and he's talking about like what he's wanted for his app, right? And it's just so weird to hear somebody like him talk about what he wanted for his app, for like what he looks for on his app, and for the future, and what he wants more of. And then you go in the room, the app wasn't meant for this and that. It's like, how the fuck do you know? You're kind of contradicting the guy who's like, I want more talk show, I want more news shows, I want more like, you know what I mean, conversations. I want, like, he wants all of this like progressive, like, talkative, like he doesn't mind stuff. But then you get into certain rooms, it's about networking and scholarship, and I'm like, I don't know, something is missing here. But anyway, so I go into this woman's room, and it's she was running for Congress. Hold on one second. So I go to this room, and she's running for Congress, right? So I go in the room, and I'm sitting in the audience, and she's begging people to come up. So she's like, oh, I don't like talking to myself. People come up. Jackie, because usually I go in and I just sit there, right? So to hear the breakdown. So I end up going up because there was a comment, because she was about to close the room between 10 to 15 minutes, y'all. Hold on one second, y'all. So she's about to close the room, and it's about 10-15 minutes. So the comment that made me kind of come up was because one of the ladies had said, I just think as Black people we need to come together, let all that LGBTQ community stuff go, agenda go, let that feminist agenda go, and we should all just come together and really just try to come together as Black people. And that throws me off, because as a feminist, I'm like, why do people think that we're not coming together? What about the feminist movement that you think that doesn't support the pro-Black, or that you think is anti-Black, right? And a lot of times when you get in these conversations, I find, and that's the reason why I don't get into them, that people don't have enough of the knowledge to kind of tell somebody what they believe in. They will tell you that, oh, this is how it's perceived. How something is perceived doesn't mean that it's a fact, right? Because it could be perceived off false information. But as an adult, like a thinking adult, if I'm against something and I'm to the point where I'm on a mic or I'm on a stage and I'm talking against it, I have myself together enough to know that if I'm gonna speak out against something, I know why I'm speaking out against it. Not because I'm going off the perception of something, because so many people believe, oh, a lot of people believe this to be true, right? And you can, but I think it's another level when you're willing to talk to something that you don't quite know how to explain. I think to me that's, I don't want to have conversations with those people. That's half-ass, and that's not a full conversation. But anyway, so I go up, and me and her, like at first it was cool because let me tell you, it was like 5 or 6 people in this room, right? So there weren't nobody in this room. So I go up and I'm having a conversation with her. I said, I'm a little perplexed. I said, because as someone who's a feminist, I consider myself a woman first. I don't know what I believe in that goes against and makes my agenda anti-black, right? I said, I don't believe in breaking up the black family. I don't hate black men or any of those things. I just don't understand how advocating for myself in terms of protection, in terms of job protection, in terms of domestic violence, in terms of femicide, violence against women, in terms of things like that. I don't know how advocating for that is anti-black. And so, they really couldn't say nothing. They were just like, oh, it's because it's perceived. It's just what's out there from the 60s and 70s. I then said, well, I think there's been a few phases of, and I did the reading on this, of the feminist movement. I said, I go back and I see the reading. It goes all the way back to when we were slaves. And actually, after being freed, like literally, it starts from there, right? You have Harriet Tubman, who for me is the first feminist. If I had to think about what we define feminist behavior to be and how it's always showed up in our history. We've always showed up in our history in what I feel like in 2021 men like to say masculine or male identity, like all that shit. We've always shown up. They're like, we've never been this like Greek goddess type of woman. And I've said this before. Like I've literally have said that. Go check the video. I'm not really going into this. So we're having just a regular conversation. Next thing you know, there's a gentleman. Now, the room starts to fill up and these people are all associated with each other. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not stupid. They all run in this ADOS type of community with each other. All of a sudden I start to see people who I don't share stages with, right? For reasons, because it's going to go there and I'm not going to apologize for it going there, because I'm not going to play with you. And I don't care if you think that you were running with Harriet Tubman back in the day and you were her partner, my nigga. I'm just never going to play with you, old or not. I don't care how old you think you are. So to continue, we have a conversation with the man. The men start coming up and, they're throwing a lot of stuff out there, a lot of inaccurate stuff. It started in the 60s and 70s, and Gloria Steinem was a CIA, FBI plant and all this other stuff, and they did this and they did that. And I'm listening. And, if you believe in that and you're going against the black family and stuff like that. So I'm listening. Now, the thing is, like I've said in the previous video, there's actually real legislation that's helped women that came out of the feminist movement, right? But there's never any acknowledgement of this because they don't know it, right? What they do know is to talk about them, to feel attacked. They talk a lot about how they feel attacked. They feel like we're trying to compete. And at any time, this is what we're talking about, crab in a barrel mentality, even within our own community. Yes, because there's just no reason as any human being, you take it as a personal challenge that someone wants more for themselves, that you feel like they're competing, right? Why do you feel like I'm competing with you, sir? A whole bunch of references to, oh, we were just doing better when we were segregated. That's dumb, right? Because our businesses had glass ceilings, right? Couldn't grow beyond the black community and the local community they were in. But I just think that people tend to think, when they think of all black segregation and not around white people, they look at it so linear that they tend to think that it just, like, they think of only, like, I think the community aspect of it, and they don't necessarily think about the education or the technology aspect of it and all those other things that you need to actually be at the tables and in getting some of that in different communities and bringing it back, right? So it's a very linear thinking when they just want to think about segregation in terms of family. It's wanting a community that does not be interfered with on on a lower level community. I just think people just want to be able to go into their neighborhoods and just really have to deal with each other. Like, I don't know, like go to work and go to our own separate corners. It feels like that's what people want, but still want the benefits of society interacting with each other, if that makes sense. And that's, I don't know, like, how does that I don't know, just the beat in the world. Like we walk in society, not in community until we get to our community. That's what it feels like that people kind of want. And they kind of want to be uninterrupted in their own communities. And it's just like, is that America? It's sure. I mean, is that your definition of what the new America will be going forward? Because it has always been that this country was supposed to be a melting pot of people, and we were supposed to integrate and become one. And it just seems more and more that's not happening, right? It seems like people are getting extremely tribal. Let me get back to why we're here in this conversation in this room. So the gentlemen are saying all this inaccurate stuff and telling me how this goes against, and I'm asking for the ideology of like, what do we actually believe in that threatens the black community, that's anti-black? And I'm giving you example Gloria Steinem and da da da. Oh, okay, so you're saying that because she was somehow a plant, that doesn't make that ideology, right? And it was like couldn't get him past the telling me like what exactly is it that we believe in. Then there was just one girl, and she know I don't fuck with her, right? So she in here under some different name and some shit different picture and stuff, and she's like, and she kind of she cool, but I know who you are, and we don't really kind of mix, right? And my politics don't mix with your politics, and when my politics don't mix with your politics to the point where you can't control yourself, or maybe I can't control yourself, who knows? And we go back and forth. You know what I do? I just avoid conversations with you. I avoid stages with you. I be doing me, right? So, because I'm not chasing after strangers on a fucking app, right? So I'm going to get in what I fit in. So I felt like as the longer I stayed on this stage, I ended up staying open longer than like the allotted 15 minutes I thought was left, because I thought it was going to be a little cute key. We get off a half an hour in, okay? A half an hour, 45 minutes in, we are still having this conversation, right? Now, the part that pissed me off, there was this older gentleman who came on stage. Now, I really try to stay away from him because, he's a little long-winded, get all MLK-ish and shit like that. And so he gets really sensitive when certain people interrupt and talk over people. One of those people who try to tone police and kind of think there's room etiquette, but this doesn't apply to everybody. Only certain people this applied to, right? Because I can be in rooms with like Vax, I can be in rooms with like Alex, I can be in rooms with all these people who cut off and talk over people, and it's fine. Nobody's hurt to the core. But if it's JackeeNicole, oh, she's being rude and disrespectful, kiss my ass. Now that's disrespectful, right? So I want to be clear. I know when I'm being disrespectful. I'm quite aware of that. But anyway, so I stay off stages with him too. Like, I don't have time to be fighting with people who are supposed to be of ADOS lineage about ADOS stuff. Like, I'm not against you, right? And that's that weird thing, like, because you think we don't say the same things, we haven't read the same things, we are maybe talking about different things, you think we automatically are competing. And as they talk, they tell you that, right? Because I have different ideology or different things I may be fighting for, you take it as competition. That is such a problem in our community. That's an internal problem for you. I'm not competing with you because I'm existing and doing me. I can't fix that in other people. That's not my problem, right? So the gentleman gets up there and he starts talking about, I guess, the woman who had that was the host. No, just remind you, I'm on the stage going back and forth for two men who are questioning, asking themselves about feminist belief, okay? Like, they're telling me what feminists believe, right? They are centering themselves in the... It was just so freaking weird because I'm a feminist. So it was just like, ask me questions, right? So why are you going back and forth on what we believe? That's always weird in these rooms. I'm sorry. The girl gets on stage and she says something about, I think it's the stupidest thing that feminists believe in abortions because all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, now we low-key throwing adjectives like stupid in a conversation, a friendly conversation. So we got to take it there. Now we got to take it up a notch, right? Because now when it comes back to me, I think it's stupid when people just say that feminists believe in abortions, right? Because a pro-choice, if you believe in pro-choice and that's something, you don't have to be feminist. I've been in plenty of rooms when women believe in pro-choice or aren't feminists, right? So it seems convenient when it comes to trying to kind of talk against the feminist movement that you try to just put that under the umbrella of feminists, and that's just not the case. Women believe in pro-choice. Period. women believe in pro-choice. So to have that as something that you don't like feminists, again, I'm still looking for ideology. We're all about choice, right? Choose whatever the hell you want to do. It's all about choice. But I never get to the point where we're having a conversation about what exactly is the ideology that makes it anti-black. What I do get is a suggestion to read this book, and it was a book about her slaves, and I guess it was a white woman, and she was detailing how she treated, I guess it's about her detailing how she treated her slaves and what she thought and all this other story, and that if I read this book, that I would understand more. I took really offense to that. I'm a black woman, so which means as black women, we were also there in terms of slaves, in terms of a slave master and how he raped black women. But what I will not sit here and let you tell me is that because of just your male experience in slavery, that has something to do with feminism. It doesn't. It doesn't. And I don't like the conflation. I don't like to try to imply, well, you're not knowledgeable about what happened to us in slavery. That's not what the conversation was about. We were talking about in 2021, right? And then he made some comments about, what did he say? He said, we back in the day, we were just a better community when women, we went to work. Oh, the men went to work, women tended the home. We went to church on Sunday and we came home. We were better as a community and da-da-da. Don't give me that whitewash. Don't give me that bullshit. That's how you perceived what was going on in the community. Because when I go back and look at history and I see us, we were always showing up somewhere as the help, and we were always showing up as somewhere on working jobs, right? We've never had the luxury of sitting back and just letting life happen for us. Right? So when I have a man has that much disconnect, and even talk about the 60s and 70s, we're talking about domestic violence that probably went unreported, right? It's like you don't understand. How about if you want to talk about the men who made black women single mothers by leaving them, right? You don't want to talk about how they have to go get a job. That's something that's forced on them, right? No, we don't want to acknowledge that's been going on from the test of time, right? We don't want to acknowledge that. But if they weren't able to better themselves and take care of their homes, how do we get to where we're at in 2021 without the progression of black women in society? How do we get here? We don't get here, right? So that's in your head, that you think that in any point in time that we had the luxury to sit back and that we would be better off in the community, right? You don't acknowledge the fact that black men go to prison, right? That single family forced upon you then, huh? You don't want to factor any of that. And when that happens, is a black woman allowed to just stay on welfare and just take care of the kids? No, that does not happen. That's not a life of success, right? We can't do that, right? So when I hear a man have that much disconnect, right, I gotta say, old ass nigga, back up off me. I got to. What are you talking about? That's never been our reality. I don't talk to people who don't live in reality. And so I don't know how that comes across, and I don't know how, I know that makes people mad, but we're not having the same conversation where women are dying at the hands of men, right? Every day. And so when I'm advocating for women's rights and you want to start talking to me about slavery and black men and how feminists make you feel about our progression, and you don't want to acknowledge what black men do in our community, you don't want to talk about the real harms in our community, I can't take you serious, sir. We're not having the same conversation. Y'all want to send to the LGBT, they're not hurting our community. No. You may not like it, you may think it's too much, or that's not hurting our community. And we know exactly what's hurting our community, and the black community does not want to, Blackistan, mammies, and pygmishas don't, nobody's trying to, they want to say my sons and stuff like that. You guys have to look at and help your boys from the very beginning. It's not a boy just being a boy or a man just being a man, because before he was a man being a man with that disgusting ass behavior, he was a boy that you said it was okay. Oh, you know how he is. Oh, he all right. And you just didn't pay no mind. It don't go like that. It don't go like that. Oh my gosh. Man, I didn't know I was going to do that for 26 minutes. Okay, y'all. Let me go ahead and write that down. Hold on 1 second. 26 minutes mark. Okay. All right. So yeah, I have two stories that I did want to get into. Listen, there's a lot of times, and y'all know I like to do my hip hop review, and there's a reason why I have stayed away from stories that talk about where we at right here. I've stayed away from stories. We're on the Shade Room on these people's Instagram, but I have stayed away from stories that have to do with Nicki Minaj. Um, I'd be so conflicted. I wasn't always like the biggest Nicki Minaj fan. And this really has nothing. I was never the biggest Nicki Minaj fan. But when whatever happened between her and Safari, and I seen how the industry was treating her, I felt some sort of way. Like as a woman, feminist, so whatever. I'm always feeling like, what's going on? What y'all doing on Nicki? Now, and it made me pay attention. I also just wasn't a fan of like all the wild crazy like that, when she was dressing like with the meat and all that other stuff, like when she was doing that, pop ish, like, so I wasn't really a fan of that. I was a fan of, the Nicki Minaj and the hallways, the mixtapes, the features, and all the other stuff, like the hardcore stuff. Like I was a fan of that. So when she switched it up, I kind of checked out, and now I did check back in, towards like the Queen album and stuff like that. So I really liked that. So, but then I started paying attention to more or less like how she was talking, and she was talking about, really rapping and kind of not always rapping about being a hoe and stuff like that. So I popped back in, right? Into being a fan, especially like when, things were going down with her and Cardi B, and they were going back and forth and stuff like that. Everybody had opinions on those type of things. So for me, over the years, I just became more and more of a fan of her. Like when she would speak out, it always seemed like it was on point in terms of being a strong woman. And I know she's labeled all types of a bitch and stuff like that, but I don't mind that, only because I just think there's so many men in the industry that you could label the same ass way, right? I mean, if you want in terms of like the same thing that you call a woman a bitch, there's a lot of men that you could call them a bitch for those same ass reasons, right? Diva-ish, attitude-ish, say whatever the hell they want-ish, and expect things to go their way-ish, right? So there's a lot of men with that type of bitch ass, behavior, right? So I never pay that shit no mind, because again, that's another way to just mislabel a strong black woman, right? So I ignored that. But things took a drop turn with me really kind of like, trying to see who she was as a person. A thing happened with her brother where he got accused of the rape charges and stuff like that. He ended up going to jail. Now, Nicki's never came out and acknowledged it. She's never like came out and supported her brother. Honestly speaking, I felt like Nicki handled that the right way, right? That is her blood brother. In the same way I gave the same props to Chris Cuomo when it came to his brother, right? You are not your parents, you are not your siblings, you are not the people you are associated with. You are your own person. So you're only accountable for your actions, right? So for me, when it came to her brother, she never came out and supported him. She never did anything. She just let the courts do what they were supposed to do. And I respect that more than anything. So cool. I understood people wanted her to say more, but no, I don't think she has to. So the courts did what they had to do, right? She didn't come out and support him, so she's not contradicting herself to say that she is for protecting black girls, right? And she's also one of those people very for the taglines, for the promotion, for the hashtags, support black women, and like she's very tries to appear that way. And I say appear because you have to look under the hood. You got to pop that hood up and look underneath a little bit and move a couple things and see if it really checks out to be what it's supposed to be and everything's in the right place. But when you pop that hood, look around, see a couple things, it's not in the right place, right? Because there is a lot of backdoor behavior. There's a lot of behavior that is done behind people's back that would imply that she's not for women, right? There's a lot, I think, when she was beefing with Remy Ma came out and talked about how she would stop opportunities for her. And there are other women who will say the same thing, right? There's other people in the industry. She's had people do her dirty work for her. I'm not even going to talk with this. It's not about Karen Civil, but she's had people like a Karen Civil, taking down people's pages allegedly and all this other stuff, right? So she's really, got her hands really in it. Now that goes back to her being labeled a bitch in these streets. Now she's labeled that thing, but she's doing what everybody else is doing. So that's why I say that I be watchful on people labeling people a certain way, because what we learned this week in Clubhouse, when we learned about what Miss Karen Civil was up to, that this is just how everybody is moving, right? So then in turn, why is Nicki the only one labeled a bitch? Okay. Okay. So that's why I say I don't necessarily feel like I think she's any worse of a human being than anybody else that's in the business. I think there's a lot of shifty ass human beings in the business. So I'm not going to label her a bitch myself. Anyway, that's the only break I'm gonna give her. So, you just step back and listen. You hear about all these different things, and so you're just like, okay, is this just for this is just for promotion that you try to act like you're, with other women and stuff like that. In the beginning, she got accused for not doing features and stuff with people and not being helpful to the new girls, and then she came out and she was doing features with everybody and stuff like that. I say this when it comes to the features thing. Don't feel like you have to do features with people. Don't feel like you have to collab. And I'm not saying not spread love and not work with people that you do like and if they're new and up and coming. But I do think that there is something to being exclusive. And I do think that there's something, and I think that's what makes Jay-Z Jay-Z. He's exclusive. And I think there's don't spread yourself out and look like you're trying to follow other people's waves. And I think as you are longer in the business, I think that becomes more important not to do that, because it kind of makes you look like, are you just trying to be young still so that you clicking up with everybody, like you don't know where you're at in this business right now, so you're just trying to, you know what I mean, seem like you out there. So it comes across as a little desperate a little bit. So I don't think she needs to do that. I think if she's going to do features, it should be with like legendary people. Like I don't know what her situation is, and I'm just throwing out. She's at that place where she should have like features with like a Nas. You know what I'm saying? Like she should have a feature with a Jay-Z at this point, like on her albums and stuff like that. I don't necessarily feel like it should have to be heavy with like newer people. All right, so back to this. So you hearing the little things about Nicki, and you're just like, okay, girl, you do a lot, right? Because, but she be making points at the same time, right? Because she went to that Safari shit, she went up there, she checked flex, like she's really strong in who she is, like, and like you can't take that from her, right? So when people try to discredit her talent, you can't talk about her talent. That just is what it is, right? But her behavior and how she's treated people. So then she goes through that whole situation with Meek Mills, and we later found out there was some domestic violence in that relationship and stuff like that. But she then pops up with, a nigga from the neighborhood, the block, that I guess she knew from back in the day. He has a name for himself and stuff like that. Most definitely people from the very beginning thought she was like marrying down and stuff like that. But she ended up marrying the man, Kenneth Petty. Everybody knew he was into something. People thought he just was not good for her. Nobody thought this was it. But who are we? We're just on the outside. We later found out that he was, at the time when he was like 15, 16 years old, he was arrested and charged with raping a girl from his neighborhood, right? He was convicted and he went to jail and all this other stuff, right? Okay, boom. We are now in 18 or 17, he popped up. We are far from when he was 15, 16 years old, okay? And this man's probably 40-something years old, right? And so we are far from back in the day. Nicki and him hook up and decide that they're going to be an item, right? Unbeknownst to us, when he starts popping up, the woman who he rapes automatically knows and starts to fear that, something's going to happen to her in terms of like, people finding out about his history. Because once you become into the public eye, you are Googleable, right? Like, so if you don't want to be Googleable as somebody's spouse, just move out the pictures. Some of y'all want to be in the pictures and you don't even want that type of smoke when them people start doxing, pulling up who you be with and where you at. Like, you don't want that type of smoke. So if you don't want to be famous, don't be in the pictures. Just what it is. Don't be on the cameras, all that other stuff. You think you got something to hide, you killed somebody back in the day, you got away with it. Stay off these people's internet. So at this point, there's no such thing as snitching. You guys are telling on yourself. I've heard niggas admit to payola. It is free for all out here. It's free for all out here. So whatever, the woman that he rapes, she immediately, okay, I have video. I don't have to do all this talking, but I just feel like talking. Anyway, so she marries this man. they immediately know that his past is going to come up. He has to register as a sex offender everywhere he goes. He moves to California with Nicki. He does not register. It starts so much from there. Now, and this is so funny because this has been on like the YouTubes for like months, like, and it's just not making it to mainstream media. This week, the woman who he was accused of raping went on the real. Okay, and I'm gonna say this has been out for like months. I'm talking about 6-7 months, like months. This is so old that this is like it, like YouTube breaks the stories and then the rest of the world starts talking about it eventually. Like that's the flow of things right now. That's the flow. And I know a lot of people don't want to respect it, and great job to the real, but listen, I know this story like I know this story because of YouTube. I'm not playing the clip. I haven't played the clip yet. But yeah, YouTube most definitely has broken this story. And I know a lot of people like to throw shade, but I mean, just is what it is. There's no difference between a YouTube blogger, vlogger, than somebody who is on TMZ or somewhere else. All right. All right. So let's get into what she has to say, y'all.
Respect what you hear. That's just put that in.
Jennifer, have you ever spoken to Nicki directly?
I did in March 2020. She called me and she said that she got word that I was willing to help them out in a situation. I didn't understand what she was referring to. She offered to fly me and my family to LA. I turned it down, and I told her, woman to woman, this really happens. And I hadn't spoken to her since.
Now, you allege that Nicki and Kenneth were harassing you. In what way?
With them sending people to negotiate numbers as far as money is concerned with family members. And Nicki is the one who personally reached out to me. She's, in regards to helping them in this situation.
Jennifer, have you ever spoken to Nicki directly?
I did in March of 2020. She called me and she said that she got word that I was willing to help them out in a situation. I didn't understand what she was referring to. She offered to fly me and my family to LA. I turned it down, and saying no to every offer, to every suggestion. The last incident was when one of their associates put $20,000 on my lap, and I still kept saying no. The last message I received was that I should have taken the money because they're going to use that money to put on my head. Because I kept saying no to every offer, to every suggestion. The last incident was when one of their associates put $20,000 on my lap, and I still kept saying no.
After being silent for so long, why are you here speaking up today?
I'm tired of being afraid. I feel like the actions that were taken in regards to this whole situation have put me in a different type of fear at my age now, and it was wrong, and I don't want to be afraid anymore. So the only way not to be afraid is to continue to speak up.
Jennifer, after being silent for so long, why are you here speaking up today?
I'm tired of being afraid.
Okay, so that is the story, and that's on the Shade Room. So let me read right here. So that was yesterday on The Real. Let me see. Jennifer Hugh spoke about the past rape allegations and alleged that she was recently harassed by members of Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty team. After speaking out about her story publicly 9 months ago. Remember, I just said it. Neither Nicki or Kenneth have spoken publicly regarding the allegations. Jennifer, however, spoke about the allegations today on The Real. Let's see what my co-host in the comments got to say, because believe it. Ooh, this is beyond messy. It is beyond messy. I believe her. She probably go through anxiety, PTSD, and trauma. Exactly. So this is somebody who would really be going through the PTSD and anxiety and trauma, like somebody who's went through it. Nicki needs to leave that man. Oh my God. Like, I don't even understand why she married him, to be completely honest. He was supposed to be the pool boy that traveled with you. And that was supposed to just be the fucking joke, because you were never supposed to marry that fucking nigga. Like, at this point, like, for real? At this point in life, no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it at all. I believe her. You can tell by her tone she is trying to stay calm. And I hate that she even has to stay calm. You don't have to stay calm. Don't stay calm to make these people feel better about what happened to you and what you've been experiencing. And I know a lot of times people, it's like, you need to be able to deliver a message in a way that people understand that you better get it how I give it to you. Period. If we're talking about my life and something that's being done to me, I don't have to deliver it in a way that that makes you feel better. Fuck out of here. Lord, the victim blaming is disgusting. Exactly. No. Deliver your message how you want to deliver your message when it comes to something that has to do with you. It's because if somebody wanted to care, it wouldn't be that I have to deliver something that is hurtful to you in a way that makes sense to you. Fuck out of here. Shout out The Real, also giving her space to tell her story and the trauma she's still enduring. We can't protect assaulters regardless of celebrity status. And that's the problem, Nicki. Like, why would you marry? It has 30,465 likes. Like, nobody thinks this is okay. Y'all write harder for these celebrities than you do your own family. Not everyone out here looking for a come up exactly. And it's like, how do you question this woman's motives when at the end of the day she was living her life privately until they decided that, oh, we don't want the media to find out about you, so what will make us look good, I'm gonna do that R. Kelly shit. I'm gonna have you write a letter that discredits yourself because you're gonna say that it didn't happen, so now people don't know what to believe. Do they believe what you said when you were 15, 16 years old, or do they believe the 45-year-old woman now that you are, now that you've had time to think about it? Come on, get the fuck out of here. That's disgusting. That's predatory behavior. Thinking of ways to entrap somebody to look like they are not telling the truth. That's disgusting. You're disgusting, Nicki. This is disgusting. And you can't be that because you're so desperate to get married or to have this family, It can't be because of that. Because any man would have did that for you. Again, I ain't even gonna say, like, try to say that you could have still been with this man without propping him up and trying to do this, because this was not it. And why did you go look for this girl? Why you just didn't let them tell the story? If that was the case, it was going to always come out. It was going to always come out. Even if she came back and said, oh, that, discredit the story or whatever, you were going to go, what, then petition the state to so he does not have to file as a sex offender because the witness didn't happen? Like, you want to get that deep in it? I don't want none of that, Zozo. I don't want none. I don't want none. I don't want nothing that good. Nothing, okay? That good. Oh my God. To make you lose, like, and put your career in that type of jeopardy. All right, that's all I got, y'all. This is longer than I wanted it to be, but y'all know how we do. We keep it bougie. We keep it posh. We keep it black as fuck. Man, do I inspire these people. All right, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I am out.